Hey everybody, today I'm reviewing a listing in Seoul in South Korea. The host's name is Suhi, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find this listing in the search results. So I'm looking at the neighborhood, which is called No.2. But before I search for the listing, I want to make sure that that my search will qualify for the criteria that she's set. And so I noticed that she has a variable minimum night stay for this listing. And so I filled in a few travel dates just to make sure that when I do the search that her listing will actually show up. So I filled in June 1st to June 4th. And now I'm going to go ahead and type in the city, June 1st to 4. I'm going to select 5 guests, as that's the maximum that she can host. This will just make sure that the amount of listings that I'm going to see is a little bit lower. All right. So I don't see her on the first page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the map. So first I need to figure out where exactly she's located. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in a bit and find the area. She seems to be sort of around here. So there she is. So now she's on the first page, which is still pretty good. Airbnb is showing 173 listings, and she is now number 10, so halfway through the first page. So that tells me that that she has pretty good visibility. And so she should be getting quite a few views. Now the question is, are those views also going to convert into bookings? And Suhi has told me that she would like to have more bookings. Like most Airbnb hosts want to get more bookings. So let's see what we can do to improve this listing. Well, first of all, let's start with the pictures, because the pictures are the most important. So let's go back to the search results and look at this search snippet here. I think the first picture is pretty good. It clearly shows her apartment. I think the title is something that can be improved. First of all, I have no idea what Myeongdong means. I don't know if that's a famous spot in Seoul. I don't know if it's going to convert a lot of people. I mean, if you're searching if you want to stay close to this particular location, then this title might be very good. But the thing is, like most people, when they search on Airbnb, they typically pick the location first, and then they decide where they want to stay in that neighborhood. So, for example, if I knew what Myeongdong means, then that probably means that if I want to stay there, I'm probably going to search, I'm going to zoom into that area on the map. So I already know that the listings that I'm looking at are in that particular area. So for example, I see here on the map that it's shown here on the map, so it must be the name of the neighborhood or so. But so again, I don't think it's going to add very much to the conversion. And so I think it'd be better to either put something general like great location, perfect location, or something like that, because that's going to appeal to more people. Or you could think about, what are the best aspects of your listing? What's the what's the number 1 or the number 2 best aspects of your listing, and try to incorporate that into your title. So I'm not sure exactly what the best aspects are. I think as a host, you're in the best position to decide. It's also something that you can ask your guests. You can ask your guests, like, what did you love most about my listing? And then if you've asked that to like 5 or 10 people, it might become a little bit more clear what people really love about your listing and what they don't like about your listing. So then you can use that to define your title. Another simple trick is to just scroll down to the reviews and look at what people write. look at the feedback that people are giving you on your place, and maybe you find that a lot of people are raving about a certain aspect of your listing, and then that will be something to include in your title. But let's take a look at the pictures. So I think the first picture looks pretty good. She's got a lot of pictures, 45, which is really a lot. But I think that's okay. More is better, I think, in this case, because people want to know a lot about the listing. They want to see, and so I don't think it's a problem that she has a lot of photos. But it is very important to put your best pictures first. So what I see a lot of hosts do is they have 30, 40 pictures, but they're kind of like arranged in a random fashion. So you might find some really good pictures all the way at the end, and then, one of the first pictures might not be so good. So I think, obviously people are going to look at the first, 5 to 10 pictures in more detail than the other ones. Those are the pictures that people are going to look at first. So those should be the best ones. All right, so let's look. So it seems like she has a studio, it almost looks like, with I see a double bed, and I think a few more beds upstairs. Okay, it looks kind of a little bit girly. Now I'm looking at a picture of a map. Okay, so that's kind of creative. So you can see here where her apartment is. You can see the different neighborhoods that are around her place. I think this is not a bad picture to add, but I think it's probably not a good idea to put this, so early on in the overview of the photos. I think the first thing that people want to see is, what does the apartment look like? Where am I going to sleep? Does it have a kitchen? What does the bathroom look like? Those are the most important things that people want to see first. And so this would be something that I would add at the end, like maybe picture number 30 to 45 somewhere. Kind of the same rationale for this picture. I think it's I do think it's very creative the way that she's indicated and showing where her place is. I think that's awesome, because you can really see well where it's located. But again, I've moved this down the line a little bit. So these are more important pictures. You can see the toilet, you can see the shower, you can see the kitchen here. Here's another thing that I would do. This looks a little bit messy. Before you take pictures of the kitchen, I would definitely recommend getting rid of, sort of the wires that you see here, the pan. Make it look as tidy as possible. Also, I would try to sort of get the whole kitchen in one shot, so that it'll provide a little bit more information to the viewer. Okay, so here you see some more pictures of the apartment. Another thing I noticed is it's kind of like random the way these pictures are organized. And I wouldn't necessarily do it that way. I would want to show the sort of the pictures that show most about the apartment first, especially the beds, and then you go to the bathroom, you go to the kitchen, and then after that I would show like these other things. And something like this is also a picture that you will move a little bit further down the line, because it's it's a very detailed picture. This is actually a very good picture. I would probably put this in the top 3, because it really gives you a good idea of what her apartment looks like. So the first couple of pictures I was looking at, I was a little bit confused as to what the layout of the apartment is, because you see these, you see this part of the bed, and you see sort of part of the apartment. Now I get a better idea of what it looks like. Here's the door. There's a staircase. There's 2 beds upstairs. There's 1 bed downstairs. So this gives me a lot of information. So I put this maybe number 2 or number 3. Okay, so there's some more pictures. This is a nice picture. I'll probably move that a little bit to the front, because it shows clearly like a fairly comfortable bed. Shows some storage space. It's a little overexposed, a little bit too white. I don't know if this is if these are pictures taken by the Airbnb professional. my gut feeling tells me it's not. So I think she probably took these herself, but I'm not completely sure. This is also kind of overexposed. Now, some more pictures of the listing. I think this is also fine. Not sure what I'm looking at here. Again, I think the pictures are just kind of like overexposed, so it's hard to see what I'm looking at. Sugar and salt are provided. You can cook anything you want. Okay, that's great. Okay, so this is a clear picture of the hallway. So this is also a picture that should definitely be a little bit earlier in the listing, because it provides information about how the apartment, what it looks like. Okay, I would probably just delete this picture, because we've already seen similar pictures that are better than this, and this is probably a picture that she took with a smartphone. I'll probably delete all smartphone pictures because it just looks a little bit less professional, unless it adds something specific, unless there's some value. I would probably get rid of all the iPhone or smartphone pictures. Either replace them with a decent picture from like a good camera, or at least when you take a picture with a smartphone, make it wide and not the vertical ones. This is also kind of like redundant because we've already seen this before. This one as well. This one is kind of nice. It says love, so it's kind of like a positive thing. This is a nice picture. This one as well. So she's definitely made an effort to show like some cool details about her apartment, which I definitely think is a good idea. Internet speed is also something that's good to add. Some information about her neighborhood, how to get to different places, I guess. Suhi's place, number 6, is located perfect location for travelers. All the famous tourist attraction is in walking distance. Okay, I kind of like this. It adds more information, and it's kind of creative with the guy and the little balloon here. Same here. Also, pretty good to add. Okay, so now we're getting to see some of her guests, I think. Yeah, this must be some of her guests from the past, which is great. That shows social proof. It shows that people have already stayed at your listing and they look all happy. So I think that's, again, a very creative way to add some more pictures. I've noticed that she hasn't written any captions yet, and I think obviously it's better to write captions, especially in a case like this. If you combine this picture with a great caption where you say like, oh, look, these are some of my former guests and they were very happy, blah blah blah, maybe add a some reviews, like take some of the stuff that people have written in the reviews and put that as a caption to this picture. I think that would be very powerful. And something like this you could actually move a little bit earlier on in your listing, because it's this is definitely something that I think would increase the conversion from views to bookings. Here's some pictures of food and a park with some deer. It's pretty cool. Oops. Some more pictures of the neighborhood, things you can do in the city. Travel like a local. Okay. And then there's another picture of the bed. Again, that's kind of a little bit random. Okay, I think we've already seen this as well. And this one, I think, I've definitely seen that before. So these pictures at the end are all kind of like redundant, I think. We've already seen these. And so I would probably just get rid of those, or just kind of like pick the best picture that shows a certain aspect of your listing. And then you can definitely show your apartment from different angles. I think that's really good. But if the picture literally just shows the same thing, then I would just go and pick the best one and delete the other ones. So as far as the pictures, I think definitely rearrange them a bit. Put the most important ones first. Add captions to all the photos. Um, on the positive side, I think she's done a really good job at being very creative in the way she's displaying some of the information. So definitely good job, and definitely I think very inspiring. I'm sure there's a lot of people who could learn from that. All right, let's move on to the other parts of the listings. So the About This listing section is also quite important. It's probably the first thing that people look at after looking at the pictures and the title. This is really where you kind of want to describe the overall experience that guests can have in your place. And one thing that I see a lot is that people tend to write things very factual here. Okay, so we looked at the pictures. She's talking about the location in her title. She's talking a lot about the location in her pictures. And then again here, she says every tourist site in Seoul within 5 minutes on foot. She mentions a couple things that are nearby, I guess. Again, I'm not sure what these neighborhoods are, but then again, I don't know much about Seoul. But I would definitely, if her location is her main selling point, then it's great to mention that in this section. But I would write a compelling paragraph that explains why her location is so perfect, instead of sort of just posting a couple names of some neighborhoods. And then the bottom part, it says this is a very K-drama style apartment. Again, I don't know what K-drama means. I don't know what type of visitor she's trying to market to, but I imagine that not everyone's going to know what K-drama means, so I wouldn't necessarily write that unless people who love K-drama are a big subset of the visitors that visit Seoul. If there's a lot of people who come to Seoul because they want to stay in a K-drama style apartment, then it's actually a good thing to do, because then you're targeting a specific audience. But in this case, I think it's I think the amount of people that are coming to Seoul and thinking, oh, I want to really stay in a K-drama apartment, I don't think that's a lot of people, but I could be wrong. So I would definitely recommend think about that. Think about if that's a good audience to target. Imagine yourself staying at a K-drama apartment like actress. I would also recommend that she asks a native English speaker to kind of like just turn this into a a grammatically well written English piece, because in the end of the day, you want your listing to be communicating like professionalism, right? Now, your dream will come true. I think that's a little bit over the top. You definitely want to make your place sound attractive, but I think your dream will come true in this K-drama style apartment. Like, unless it's your dream to stay in this type of apartment, I think this is a little bit over the top. Free Wi-Fi egg, that's great. I would probably either integrate that in the sentence, right? So write something like, this wonderful K-drama style apartment is situated in a perfect location, just 5 minutes away from all the amazing tourist sites in Seoul, and within walking distance to the neighborhoods of I don't know how to pronounce these neighborhoods: Insadong, Gwanghwamun, Myeongdong, and just footsteps away from Yeonteuk Station, which is very well connected to the other parts of Seoul by the metro, subway, I assume it is. So like free Wi-Fi is included, something like that. I think that's a better way to write this part of the listing. All right, let's scroll down a bit. Cancellation policy strict, something that I don't recommend. I think there's a lot of people who get a little bit deterred by a strict cancellation policy, because people are always worrying about like, oh, what happens if something comes up, if I can't make it, then it's going to cost me a lot of money. So if you make it flexible, then you kind of like take away that worry. But in reality, people actually hardly ever cancel anyway. So putting a flexible, moderate policy is probably going to get you a few more bookings, but it's not really going to cost. It's not going to cost you very much because not very many people will cancel, and if people cancel, you might still be able to find somebody else. So she's added the beds to her listing, which is good. Let's go down to the space. This is kind of looks a little bit unorganized and kind of random. Welcome to Sohee's place. This is the cutest and most colorful Airbnb listing in Seoul. It's totally Korean drama style apartment. Look at the cute interior for girls. And then she goes, no extra guest fee. This is lost for maximum 5 people. It's 5 minutes from Mandong. 0 seconds from Kwon-yi Stream. Okay, that's very close. 0 seconds. Extremely convenient. I'm looking for some real local experience based on guest reaction. I try to spend time with guests. Also, if you want to get nice and fast service, choose me as your host. I've been Airbnb host for 4 years. Again, I think I do recommend she gets someone to get rid of the spelling mistakes. I mean, things like Airbnb with a space in between that. I mean, it's people still understand what she means, but it just doesn't look very professional. And so, and also, this is very factual, right? It's okay to provide information, and to mention some facts, but I would definitely recommend to try to fit this into a little bit more of a sort of like an appealing description of her space. Also, she mentions this area is meant to describe the space, right? She's mentioning a lot of things that don't really have to do with the space. Like she's talking about location. She's talking about that she likes to spend time with the guests, which is fine, which is good to mention. But there's another area for that, because here it says interaction with guests. Now that's where you want to talk about how much interaction you want to have with your guests. Like, are you going to hang out with them all the time, or are you even going to be there? Like, what can your guests expect? When it comes to guest access, you don't share this house with no one else. Access anything you want, entire flat for you. Here you can talk about how does the check-in work. Are you going to be there to deliver the key? Is it an electronic entrance? Like, how are you going to get access to the house? Do you need any keys, or how many keys do you have, etc.? Now here we get to the neighborhood. So she's mentioning a bunch of things about the neighborhood up here as well. So I would move those down to the neighborhood. She's giving quite a bit of information, that's great. There's also some URL hiddens. So I don't know exactly what she's trying to do there, whether she's putting in numbers or URLs. But Airbnb hides anything that looks like a telephone number or website. So again, this looks like kind of like unprofessional to have that. So I would definitely recommend her to clean that up. And she's mentioning a lot of neighborhoods. Now, again, I don't know what these neighborhoods are, but I think if you mention those neighborhoods, you might want to say a little bit more about them. So you might want to say like, oh, it's 5 minutes to Namsan, which is the best neighborhood to go for dinner or something, or 5 minutes to Gwanghwamun, which is an amazing area for sightseeing, because then it actually is adding information for the people who don't actually know what these neighborhoods are. And I imagine that's going to be most of the people. Most people who visit the city, they're probably new to the city. They don't know all these different places. So if you're going to mention them, I would provide a little bit more information about them. Okay, next part, getting around. So she mentions some subway lines, but she also mentions that here in the neighborhood. So that's kind of like, writing the same thing twice. So I would just get rid of it in the neighborhood section, and I would definitely mention it in the get around session. Airbnb bus. Okay, that's great. Other things to note. Wi-Fi egg. There's a lift. It's on the 7th floor. That's good to know. Check-in time is 3 p.m. You can drop your luggage at 11 a.m. Okay. That's great. booking have been coming in fast. Message me now to guarantee your reservation. It's kind of like a call to action. Again, I would correct the grammar. Let's see. House rules. No pets. I think that's all fine. So she has a variable minimum amount of nights to stay. I'm not sure why. It's probably because there are some peak dates where she doesn't want to have like a 2-night booking when it's like a really popular week. If it's a week there where people, for example, would want to book the whole week, then that makes sense sometimes to set the minimum amount of nights to the total week, because those are the times that you can charge the most amount of money. And then if somebody just books 2 days, then it might be really hard to get the other days booked. So I don't know if that's the case for her, but if that's the case, then that could make sense. Now let's look at the pricing. So it looks like she's got a fair amount of bookings. Looks like she prices her listing pretty much the same, around $70. And here it's 80, here it's 80, 85 in August. Okay, so she's varied the prices a little bit. It's 85 overall. So she varies the prices a bit month to month. I would also vary the prices weekday versus weekend, depending on whether she thinks she's going to get a lot of business visitors or tourists. Looks like her listing is suitable for business travelers, but it doesn't really look like a typical business listing, because it's kind of like has like 3 beds in one sort of space. So I don't know. I think a business traveler, I would typically stay in either a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, and then travel with somebody else. So I imagine it's mostly tourists that she's hosting, and so I think the weekends could probably be priced a little higher than the weekdays. And then, the best thing to do, honestly, is just to use the Airbnb pricing tips, or to sign up for one of the automatic pricing apps. I think in Seoul, I don't know what is available there. It's probably Price Labs and Beyond Pricing, maybe. I know Everbooked is only in the US. So, I would just go with the Airbnb pricing tips, and then just kind of like, raise and lower them according to how many days you have booked in the future. Typically, it's best to be 50% booked for the next 30 days and about 30% booked for the next 90 days. So if you're more booked, then you can raise the prices. If you're underbooked, then you lower your prices. She's got instant booked, which is good. Let's look at some of the reviews. She's responding to all the reviews, or almost all the reviews, which is great. Not a lot of hosts do that, and it's very easy to do, so definitely recommend that. She has a guidebook, but she didn't add very many items to the guidebook. So I think she can definitely add some more things. Add some things like restaurants, your favorite art gallery, your favorite cafe, your favorite place to go for a drink, all that kind of stuff. All right, so response rate 100%, response time within an hour. She's got 310 reviews, 5 references. So she's obviously quite an experienced host. She's got plenty of verifications. She's got a good profile picture. I would probably expand a little bit on the profile. And also, it's kind of like written in a very factual manner. Ukulele, travel, open-minded person, France, Northern Europe. So she mentions a bunch of things that she likes, which is good. But again, I would definitely get somebody to, turn this into a couple of paragraphs that kind of describe the person that you are, instead of like just kind of like dumping a bunch of facts. Welcome to my house. Thank you for accepting me as your guest, as your host, I guess she means. I want to be a good host and a cheerful guest. Okay. So to summarize this review, I think Suhee is clearly an experienced Airbnb host. I think she's definitely showing that she's put in a lot of effort to create a great listing. I think there's a lot of things to improve here. I believe that she could probably get a better conversion rate by changing her title and also by rearranging her pictures, putting the best pictures first, and also by adding captions to the pictures, by changing her cancellation policy to moderate, and by creating a better description. But overall, I think she's done a really good job with some of the pictures. I definitely saw some really creative stuff that's very inspiring, and I think I might add some pictures to my own listing based on what I've seen. So that's really cool. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and I'll put up another review next week. So thank you for watching, and good luck with your listings.